Howdy, and welcome to my channel. It's been about 2 years since I put up a video, and normally I like to keep my private life off the internet as much as possible. I also apologize, I got a bit of a cold, so slowly getting over it. And I thought probably in this case I might try to explain what's happened over the last 2 years. Nothing bad. I like to remodel my homes that I live in. We've been in our house for 20 years, and over that time kind of remodeled it, and just sort of retired and felt like a change. So I put it up for sale. I had open house on a Thursday, got 7 offers, and it sold on the following Monday. And I was able to buy back some time rental from the person who purchased it, so I could look for another house because I didn't expect it to sell in a couple days. And I did find another house, needed a lot of work. So I spent the last 2 years doing the remodeling, and it's kind of a pay-as-you-go thing. And I'm almost completed with it, a couple more little things, but I've done electrical, plumbing, drywall, flooring, and so on and so forth, painted the whole house. And as you know, probably if you looked at my other videos, that I've done everything out in the garage. That's where my lab is. And so this took the lowest priority, and I just finally gotten around to working on the garage. And I've insulated a little bit, and I put drywall in. You can see the white drywall there behind the tool cabinet. And I built a lab bench and everything, and bought a couple more pieces of equipment and kind of stocked it. So I'd like to take a few minutes, and give you a quick tour of the lab, and maybe explain a couple things that I did in building it. And I hope in the future maybe to try to do a video not every 2 years. I'd like to kind of do one, maybe a couple a month, since I'm retired and I do traveling, but who knows when the next ones will be. I do have some ideas. I have also built a website to support my YouTube channel. And if you go to it, I will show it and give you a quick tour of that also at the end of this lab tour. But really don't have anything up there yet, because the idea again is to support projects and things that I do. But it'd be a good place to put some materials up there so people get additional support information. Okay, so again, just kind of taking a quick look at it. You can see I've got a tool case there where I have a lot of the hand tools, and you see I have a drill press, and I'll kind of zoom in and move the camera around a little bit and show you some of the different parts. So again, like I said, this mainly holds my hand tools. I have sockets and wrenches, screwdrivers, and things like that, and try to keep things organized. Learned a long time ago, if you do kind of put things away, which I'm not famous for, but it really helps in locating them again, and also not going out and buying 5 or 6 of the same thing. Here you can kind of see moving over, got another cabinet over in this area, and then this is my drill press, a little grinder, which is pretty terrible, and some vise and so on and so forth. And I do have hand metal shear, it's not shown there, and a brake so I can bend some basic soft aluminum, only light duty stuff. I'm definitely not a machinist. I try to make round holes when I do drilling. And then further over, you can see I've got a bunch of parts. And this has a bunch of resistors using the Series 12. I have them in 1/8 watt, 1/4 watt, 1/2 watt, 1 watt. Some are carbon film, but the vast majority are metal film. And directly below that, I also have potentiometers and some larger material at the bottom, microcontrollers, microprocessors, and stuff like that. In the second column, I've got capacitors on one side, toroid coils, cores on the other side with a lot of inductors. So pretty much capacitors, inductors. The center area is where I keep my diodes, basic rectifier diodes, signal diodes. I have a whole bunch of Zener diodes, and LEDs are down there. And then a lot of your semiconductors, bipolar transistors, sort of the ubiquitous 3904, 3906. One of my favorites, the 2N quad 2, shorthand for just 2N, 2222. FETs, MOSFETs, so on and so forth. Down below, probably my favorite electronic component of all time are operational amplifiers. Just my own as a hobby. I enjoy playing around with those. So I've got a bunch of different operational amplifiers. Crystals, all kinds of connectors. Although I try to run my lab pretty much with just BNC and banana connectors, but I do have N connectors and PL259s. And then there's some additional stuff, switches, knobs, additional dual banana connectors, some microwave connectors. Down the bottom, again, one of my most favorite companies by far was Heathkit. There's not much about them anymore, fortunately, but I really liked Heathkit, and I built probably 20 or 30 kits over the years, from a really simple little tube dip, a grid dip oscillator, to a color TV. And got a lot of, experience that way by learning how to solder and identification of components and everything. And their manuals are probably some of the best manuals I've ever seen for assembling of electronic devices. And this is sort of a proto board, that has power supplies and everything. Quite frankly, I don't really use it much anymore. Just below that is a big box of wires and cables. That's what you see over here. Again, like I said, I have a couple of other big cabinets just full of things like that. And then, of course, you've got your connectors and cabling, test leads, and so on and so forth. So there you can kind of see that I've got a bunch of them. Again, I try to stick mainly with BNCs for most of the stuff I do. And then just below that, I bought on eBay a signal generator, AM/FM. I did get it. The company, or the people that sold to me, were really great, because it did arrive with a couple of problems that it wasn't supposed to have, but I was able to go ahead and just fix them and not have to return them. But they offered me all kinds of things of, you full money back, they'll pay the shipping. That thing is a boat anchor. I think it's really heavy. And it's a Hewlett-Packard, like I said, signal generator, AM and FM. Then there's a stereoscopic microscope that I'm modifying. Over on the other side is an analog. I know Dave and a bunch of other people have mentioned that you really should have an analog oscilloscope in your lab. We can discuss that more if we want to talk about oscilloscopes. But that's a Tektronix I actually bought new back in the prehistoric times, and it's been very helpful. It still works fine. If you've ever looked at some of my other videos, you notice that I had the computer monitor and the computer on the Workbench, which eats up a lot of real estate. So this time when I built it, I've got a hole back in there, and I put the computer on the side of the bench. And that just simply allows me to, get a lot of extra real estate on the top. And I found that I really don't use it very much, because I brought up an extension USB port from it, so I can still plug all the USB stuff up at the top. And I basically just turn it on and off. And then as you can see, I've got on a wall mount, I've got the monitor. So I'll kind of move the camera over and take a little bit better, closer look at the bench. And this is the bench I built. And again, like I said, I drywalled in, which was really nice since the garage didn't have drywall. I was able to bring in another 15 amp circuit. Again, I'm in North America, so we're 120 volts here, 15, and this is a 15 amp circuit brought in. So I have basically 30 amp two circuits back to the utility service panel. And then when I'm building the bench, I used 2x4s and 3/4 inch solid plywood. And then from a company here as a vendor is called Harbert Freight, and I bought a really good sale. I bought 2 of their metal cabinets, and it had pretty good reviews online, and the gauge of the steel is really heavy, ball bearing sides. They're lined on the inside, so take a look at those. So really happy with those. And then I used those 2 as sort of the front legs, and then the back legs I literally put a 2x4 and lag bolted it into several studs, I think 5 studs in the wall. So I think you could put a small car on it, it wouldn't come down. So again, kind of on the front, you can see over on this side right here, kind of zoom in on it, I have a grounding system. So you can take a wrist strap and connect it into the ground system. I put in my own ground system, which was 2 copper-clad 8-foot ground rods. And they're just pounded in on the other side of this wall. So the run is like 4 feet. It's very, very short. Try to minimize bends and everything. Only reason I had 2 copper rods was because the reason I pounded 2 copper rods in was because I just had to. Thought I'd just go ahead and distribute the interface, to the ground, distribute across the 2 of them. And then over here, one thing that I really like is I have outlets. And I like to have some in the front, because then when you have something brought over or you're just setting something up temporarily, you got a really convenient place to plug them in. It has a circuit breaker on it. It also has 4 power USB ports. If I remember right, they're all smart units at high current rating. So you can also charge a bunch of stuff off of that. As I mentioned right over here, you can see I do have a monitor. And then if you come down at let's cover the base first. You can see if we come in, we've got a variac and an isolation transformer. And I haven't seen a review on this. A school that I went to, they actually had one in their labs, and so that's why I bought it. They just kind of changed the style. and might do a review of it, take it apart and talk a little bit about it. I am an amateur radio operator, so this is a multi-mode piece of ham gear, and I don't have an antenna up yet. Like I said, I'm in this new house trying to get everything put together, so would like to get an antenna up on it, but at least I've set it there. Then I have some multimeters, DMMs, three or four there, or I guess there's three, excuse me. 3 DMMs there, and then I've got another 2 or 3 in a cabinet. Then a few people have done a review on this power supply, and it's a later version of it, and I know Dave has done a review on it, a few other people, and this is the updated version. I haven't had any problems with it, and I've been pretty happy with it. Kind of hard to see back in there. Might zoom in, it's because it's dark, so I don't know if you can make it out, but there's a meter back there, and that's a 35 amp, 12 volt distribution panel with fuses and the meter and everything. And I have a Astron power supply, linear based, which I really like for something like this. Even though it's not very efficient, I've always been very happy with them. And that's located at the bottom of the bench. So you can probably, I don't know if I can show that very well. Again, it's kind of dark down there, but that's the Astron right there. Back out a little bit. And it's adjustable, so you can change the voltage a little bit. It has current limiting on it. If I remember right, when I took them apart, I mean, this particular model has been out for decades, I guess. I think it's a 723 regulator, if I remember right, like a UA 723. And then there's a little bit of a bench down there, and I have the printer down in there. Let me go ahead and move out the chair. That helps a little bit. And there's the printer down in there, and some more materials, boxes of goodies down at the bottom. So coming back up to that power supply and then starting, I've got a fan, exhaust fan for soldering. I have a Rigel 2000 series digital oscilloscope. I have a HP DMM. And kind of force a habit, I keep calling it HP, and I know it's going through Agilent, and it's now Keysight. And that's that's a 3346 or 461A, if I remember right. And it's a 6.5 digit, and it has been upgraded with the firmware, so it can do some dual display, and it now has capacitance, which I didn't really care about the capacitance part. And a couple things I don't like about it, but overall, very impressive meter. You can't really see it above there very well, but in that little pouch is a Fluke IR camera, infrared camera. Then I have a Maztec. I actually have two. One's broken, so that might be a fun one to do a repair on. This one is actually about 5 years old, and I haven't really had any trouble with this one. And it's, I think, the HY3003D-3, and I do use it quite a bit. Above that is a Rigel power supply, and it has all the upgrades to it. It's the DP832, but it does have the 4-digit readout due to the upgrade. And then and there's the Heiko soldering station, and also an SMD workstation, the 858D. I haven't used that very much. And then, very important, there's a picture of my website and logo. And then, because I haven't really had trouble, but you never know, so I bought myself a really big fire extinguisher. So, in case I have a problem, I have caused a few devices to smoke a bit, but I've never really gone up to the level of seeing flames. Then on the second shelf, and kind of zoom in on that for you. I've got a ProTech B3110. It's a 3 gigahertz universal counter. Best of my knowledge, I got it off of eBay, and I'm pretty sure the company is no longer around, but I got a really good deal on it, and it was brand new, still in the box, still sealed. Below it, a unit that I've used a lot for all kinds of things, and that's this Mercer sweep function generator. Somewhat primitive by today's standards, but boy, I did a lot of operational amplifier stuff with it, a lot of learning electronics. It's a 9805. Tektronix also had it just with their logo and different knobs. I'm sure it was all Pacific Rim made. Then kind of going over here to the left, we've got a Heath kit, and that's a LC bridge. It's the 2240. And I've used that quite a bit and really enjoyed it when I was winding some coils and things. And above that, I have a frequency counter. It's oven controlled. And again, I built both of those. Again, they were in kit form. And it's up to about a half a gig and works fine. Don't have any problems with it. And then I have a wireless mouse, and the keyboard's also wireless. And again, that way I can just set them down when I want to access the computer on the workbench. And the thing behind it's just a rubidium 10 megahertz standard, again off of eBay. You know, you get the ones from China, and then just put a power supply and add a couple bells and whistles to it. Haven't labeled the front panel or anything. And above that, it's kind of hard maybe to see, but that's a distribution unit set up for video at 75 ohms. I'm going to go in and modify it to 50 ohms. Several YouTubers have done different ones, not that particular one, but the same manufacturer. And again, I got that brand new at a really great price off of eBay. Then I've got one of my favorite instruments. And it doesn't have to be this one. I really like spectrum analyzers. I actually built a kind of a homemade crude one, which I'm too embarrassed to show you, but this was a pretty nice unit. And it's the DSA 815. Then going over here, and I actually turned this on. I'll kind of zoom in. I should probably put a bunch of digits up there, maybe someone will do it. But notice the display is still pretty darn good on this Fluke 45. It's not faded anywhere, and it's nice, you know, reasonably nice and crisp. And that's a really classic old meter. Really like it. Had it around for a long time. It's never given me any troubles. Above that, on the right-hand side, the green thing right there is a GPS discipline clock. And it seems to work really well, again, off of eBay. A little expensive, I thought, but I compared it with some other references in the rubidium and everything seems to be real nice. And that's what I'm using to calibrate my frequency counters with, that compared with the rubidium standard. Thing off to the side is just a precision resistor, temperature compensated. And then there's another Maztec power supply. And then a really important thing to have is you need to have your tunes. So I've got a TAC, so I can, you know, do some background music. And that's one speaker there, and then you probably saw on the other side, going back real quick, is the other speaker. So it's nice to have some music while you're playing around out here. Okay, so I think go up to the next shelf. On this shelf we have a Tech Power 3710A electronic load, and it's of course under several different manufacturers, labels and everything. Again, I got it off of eBay, again brand new. The company bought 4 of them and never used this one or took it out of the box. And I got all the extra accessories with it for a really amazing price, so I'm very happy with that, works fine. Above that is a homemade signal tracer I made a few years ago. That's just using press-on lettering. I do have a much fancier way to do lettering, and maybe I'll do a video on that. Next to that is again, another Rigel digital oscilloscope. And it's getting old in the tooth, but still works fine. It's a DS1102E. And then we've got our temperature. Again, I'm in California in November, and it's a little after 7 o'clock. It's still 73 degrees out in the garage, and there's no heating out here. And then, again, because I was into op amps and making audio equipment and everything, I built a Heath kit distortion analyzer. Works fine. Still have that, the HDA. It's a harmonic distortion analyzer. It's the IM5258. Above that is just the wireless keyboard and mouse pad. I bring those down when I'm going to use the computer. Over here is, I think it's mandatory, you can't put videos on the internet or on YouTube in electronics unless you build an electronic load. So, you know, Dave has built one and Martin's built one. A lot of people have them out there. And this might look pretty terrible. It's mainly, those lines on there are not the finished front panel. That's just the protective paper on it. And I've got it pretty much working. I peel the paper off, and then I was going to maybe do that custom faceplate, which may do, like I said, a video and show how I built that and everything. And I built a heat sink tunnel with a fan and everything in there, and did some of the metal work and everything, so it might be kind of fun to take it apart and take a look at it. I did a video on this 2 years ago, which is a Maztec LCR bridge. That's the MS5308. And at that time I said I'd really like to do a couple more videos, not necessarily just about this unit, but really talking about D and Q, the theta phase angle, the ESR, really kind of explain them and show examples, working in actual equipment and so on and so forth. So maybe that's one that I'll try to do in the near future. And then above is a transcription preamplifier, which would be used for turntables. And I sold them mainly to radio and television stations. It's one that I designed and built myself. Over here, I noticed that thing hanging down the middle is for doing your video camera and stuff if you want an overhead shot. But that's behind it is another Heathkit sine square wave generator, and I've made 3 or 4 modifications to get the distortion down quite low, and I've used that for years and years and years. It goes way, way back. I'm not going to really spend much time on these other things. They're mainly dummy loads and bridges and so on and so forth for amateur radio. And I know the light will probably get in the way, but there's, again, a Heathkit up there, LCR. You can kind of see the light getting in the way, I apologize. And there you can see what day it is when I filmed this. And over here, there's another Heathkit radio. Again, probably the camera's having a hard time because of the light. What I basically did was I'm using LED lights throughout the garage. And I did some rails. Again, you probably can't see it very well. And I can then hang different things from it or additional lights and so on and so forth, to get the best, hopefully best shots. So it helps out. And this is the 12 volt distribution panel from MFJ up to 35 amps. Of course, function also the voltage, but I can go up to about 15 volts. But I set it at 13.8, kind of simulate a car system. And then over here, that's my ground system I was talking about. And I brought it up through the wall, and then it just goes to 2 copper-clad ground rods on the other side. And I can show that. Right now it's night, so I can't really see it very easily. And then it, of course, grounds my anti-static mat here. And as I mentioned, the wrist strap or whatever you want to plug in down here. And a closer look, you can just see there's those cabinets. They're really nice. They're ball bearing drawers, and they just pull out, very nice and smooth. And I got a really good deal on them, like I said. Very happy with them. And then again, I don't know if you can see underneath here, but you can probably look up and then see that's what I did. I lag bolted the table to that. And again, I try to make the table 36 inches wide, so when you put your equipment on it, you still have a lot of workspace. And then I drilled 3 3-inch holes, as you see, distributed across it, so you can route, some cables from the top to the bottom. And it's pretty stout, pretty heavy. Don't really have too much trouble with that. It gives you kind of a good idea of it. Then, as I mentioned earlier, it's 3/4 inch solid plywood for the bench top. And then what I did was, using some contact cement, I just put some laminate on top of it and then routed it so that it fit the wood and everything. And I kind of like using the laminate. Sometimes you can scratch it a little bit if you're not careful, but otherwise it holds up really well. The chemicals I use and solvents and oils, if I spill in there, I just wipe them right up. Solder splashes from my soldering iron, it's no problem. They cool off and you just brush it off. And gives a nice clean appearance and lasts for years and years. So very happy with this particular bench top. Another thing I really like to do is I buy 3-foot right-angled AC power cords, and then I use those to plug in most of my equipment. That really helps in cable management, so you don't have wires all over the place. I mean, you really can't help it. But rather than have the ones that normally come with it, I just normally replace them all with this particular type of AC power cord. And then I haven't done anything with it, but over here I've got a CNC, the one that you see all over the place. And the idea is I thought might try to do a printed circuit board routing. So see how that kind of works out. I'm thinking I've already taken the control box apart, and I'm thinking about maybe converting it from a parallel over to USB. Actually it's cheaper just take the whole control unit out. One thing that's amazing on this, Notice these tangents I go on. It really surprised me because it's got a really good sized toroidal transformer in it. So that was a big surprise. So it actually did a pretty nice job. Okay, that's basically the lab. As you can see right there, I get pretty much just one wall, and hopefully be able to produce some nice videos from it. And next thing I'll show you just for a couple minutes is the website. Again, nothing's really on the website at this time. Okay, if you go to tigermultimedia.com, this is the website that I'm going to use to support my YouTube channel. And right now, since I haven't really set up any projects or coursework or anything, it's pretty empty, but at least wanted to show you where it was located. And this is the home page right here. And it is set up that it will readjust itself if you're looking at it on a smart cell phone or something like that. Up over in this corner, you can see I got my Tiger Multimedia logo. And on my About it explains why I chose the Tiger logo and why I chose multimedia. So you can check that out if you like. And then again, like I said, there's really not much here. If you click the projects, this is where I would have my different projects. And the idea behind this is, say I build some little device, then I can put up the schematic diagrams, I can put up the PC board artwork, chassis layouts, things like that. If it requires software, that could all be there, and it would all be downloadable and all free, plus bill of materials and so forth. So that's what I hope to do is, I'll just add little projects here, and you can then just simply click on them, and they'll support with links back to YouTube videos. Coursework, I would put materials up there, tutorials, little mini courses and things like that, and labs. So you might be a little lab about Zener diodes, show a couple examples using a meter and a power supply. Under the media, this is where I'd have my YouTube video link. You click here or up there, and I have one sample of the YouTube, and then I have a little photo gallery, and here you can see there's some of the lab we were just showed in the video, and down here I've got a couple of the photographs. Also at the very bottom there's a site map and a website policy, and then if you click the labs, and again I'm not doing high resolution on these because I'm trying to really compress the heck out of them so they just load quickly. But if I was doing a particular project or something, then I would probably use high resolution photographs so you can get really detailed look at it, and maybe a front panel design or layout. Also over here there's a blog, but it's not interactive. It's just me, and I'm just going to list current things that I'm doing, so you could just check that. It shows the most recent posts. And like I said, there's just a real short thing about of why I selected the name and the logo. I have a contact page where it could be a filled in form and everything, but I'm beginning to think I may not even do this. I don't know if I want to be that well connected, so we'll kind of see how it goes, and I might add that. And again, of course, I'm not turning off responses to the YouTube videos. And there's a search engine, kind of primitive search engine, and then there'd be links to social media, but again I'm just doing the YouTube. And if I just hop back to the home page again, it kind of shows on the idea of the projects that I might have, and you can click on those, the free mini courses, tutorials, and labs on varying topics, and then of course the media. So again, pretty simple little thing, but I just wanted it to kind of support the YouTube channel. And here you do get to see the spectrum analyzer. In fact, you can move this thing back and forth. So I mentioned I wasn't going to show it, but there's a kind of a quick shot of it. But I'm not really going to talk too much about that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the tour of the lab and taking a look at the website. And I hope, like I said, maybe trying to shoot for 2 videos a month. Again, I'm not going to get really heavily involved in this since it's just a hobby. But I do enjoy it, and as long as a couple people enjoy it or find it useful, I'd be more than happy to do it. So thanks again very much for watching.